Hey, friends! Your old pal, Barkey J. Dog here, back with another movie review. And once again, it's time to check in with our old friend, the 1990s. What if I told you there was a movie set in a post-apocalyptic city full of gangs and mutants and crime, plus two brothers who are martial artists trying to save the world from a bad guy who wants a magical Chinese medallion that will grant him ultimate power? Well, there is such a movie. This time we're talking about Double Dragon from 1994. Yeah, Double D. Our story goes like this. It's the future, 2007, and Los Angeles has been hit by the big one, an earthquake that shoved half of California into the sea. This gives rise to an apocalyptic cityscape, both old and new. And years after the event, the city is renamed New Angeles. New York is referred to as Old York, though why that is, I don't know, they don't say. A strange truce has been arranged, whereby during the day the police control the city, so it's relatively safe. At night, the gangs take over, doing what gangs do. Enter our two heroes, Billy and Jimmy Lee, and their mentress, Satori. They earn money in the fight game, and on their way home from a match, wind up out after curfew. They get cornered by a gang and escape with the help from a group of youths called the Power Core. Kids who want to save the city and return it to normal. Meanwhile, the villain of the piece comes along. He believes himself to be the reincarnation of a Japanese warlord named Koga Shuko. And he's looking for a magic Chinese medallion broken in 2 centuries ago to prevent evil guys like him from using it. He already has one half and goes after our heroes to get the other half, which Satori has been keeping. This leads to a running chase through the remains of the city as our heroes band together and work to defeat the bad guy and his henchmen. But he's taken over Gangdom as well, and its various factions. And now our heroes have to fight those guys too. Can Billy and Jimmy level up enough to win? Will Kokashuko get the medallion and take over? And what's the deal with this guy? In our cast, we have Robert Patrick as the villain, Koga Shugo. And he's just amazing. He was just off Terminator 2 and was obviously having a ton of fun playing this character with the goofy hair and everything. Just one of those over-the-top villains that are a real hoot to watch. Scott Wolf from Party of 5 plays one of the brothers, Billy Lee. I want to give him a lot of credit. He was not a martial artist and had zero skill in fighting, but somehow he pulls it off here. Mostly, I think, because of his charisma and likable personality. But he did work very hard at the fight choreography too, trying to get it right. Mark Dacascos plays the other brother, Jimmy Lee, and he was the real deal. He knew martial arts and was pretty good here. He also came off as likable. He was fairly new to acting, so he and Wolf helped each other out on the martial arts for the one and the acting for the other. Alyssa Milano is here. There she is. She plays the Power Core leader, Marion, daughter of the police chief, and she's fun too, bringing an irrepressible exuberance to the part. And she wears shorts. She and Wolf met on this movie, hooked up, and almost got married. He had nothing but nice things to say about her, as did the other cast members. Same for Robert Patrick, they all loved him. Christina Wagner plays Linda Lash, a hench chick for Koga Shugo. Not many screen credits, but she had a long run on General Hospital. Al Leong, a favorite henchman, is also here. You know him. He was in tons of stuff, including Big Trouble in Little China, Lethal Weapon, Die Hard. A very familiar face. His partner in henching is played by Jeff Imada. Again, been in lots of stuff like They Live, Blade, and he was also in Big Trouble in Little China. And the punk rocker bad guy, Bo Abobo, was played by Niels Allen Stewart, another familiar henchman face. He was in Barbed Wire, The Quest, Under Siege 2, and The Mask. He does some suitable Biff Tannen type of henching here. James Yukich had made music videos, but this was his first real movie as a director. After Double Dragon, he went back to music videos and concert movies and that kind of thing. I don't think he made another actual film. Producer Michael Davis went on to work on the Transformers movies and The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, among many other things. This was his first real stab at producing, and it was a crash course for both him and Yukich. Double Dragon was based on the famous video game of the same name, but only vaguely follows the story in it. Davis was playing the game one day and thought it'd make a good movie. He had to go through a lot of hoops to get the rights. Because it only had a short window of opportunity before the rights expired, they had to rush it into production. So, no surprise, this film was beset with problems. Some of the filmmaker's own making, such as filming key action sequences in Cleveland, an unnecessary expense when the movie itself was set in Los Angeles. When they blew up the riverfront, something they planned way in advance with authorities, not everyone got the message, and the police and fire stations were besieged by calls from concerned residents. The pyro looks absolutely amazing, though. The pyro guy had previously worked on Apocalypse Now, and supposedly he used even more explosives than he did for the famous napalm sequence in that film. There was some controversy because both Patrick and Wolf were white, not Asian. Not that big a deal, really, but of course the Twitter kids would have ranted about it if they'd been around back then. But they're Twitter kids, meaning their opinions are automatically worthless. A bigger bone of contention at the time was that Scott Wolf didn't have the blonde hairstyle of the character in the video game. So this thing is really dumb. And no, it's not what I'd call a good movie. And yet, it's just a lot of fun. It somehow overcomes its many failings and gives us a goofy romp in this weird world. A post-apocalyptic city full of mutants and gangs and crime that's still strangely sunny and lighthearted. There are also stupid things that are nonsensical in this, such as George Hamilton and Vanna White cameoing as newscasters. Why? And this weird advertisement for a hydraulic jack store. I mean, it's funny, but why? The mutants have ping pong balls for fingertips. The Mad Max style vehicles, stuff like that. This one is a really weird mashup of Dead End Drive-In, which I've reviewed elsewhere on the channel, and Max Headroom and Demolition Man, combined with some martial arts and Chinese mysticism. I don't know, but it somehow works more or less of the time, even if it's implausible and doesn't make any sense. Definitely this is a switch your brain off and just watch it kind of movie. This here DVD from MVD is the one to get. It has some extensive interviews with the writers, producer, and the two heroes who share behind-the-scenes anecdotes about the movie and how it got made, and all of them give a surprisingly honest appraisal of the movie and where it works and where it falls down. They all seem to be having a fun time, though, in spite of everything. So, a first-time producer, a first-time director, actors who weren't martial artists having to pretend that they were, half a dozen writers, a time crunch to retain rights, a few bungles in production, lots of mistakes, a mishmash of ideas and approaches all different from one another, based on a video game which they only marginally held to. And yet somehow, they made this movie that was both better and worse than anyone working on it imagined. The movie was kind of a flop, not having a target audience in mind. If it skewed just slightly older and had slightly less goofiness, maybe it would have landed better. If it skewed younger, it might have been more kid-friendly family fare and done a bit better that way. If they made it more serious, something more for college kids or grown-ups, again, it might have had a better reaction. As it was, the movie tried to be all of those things and wound up pleasing no one. On a budget of almost $8 million, it earned back only $2 million. And yet, even so, it's attained a sort of cult status anyway, thanks to being released on videotape, where it was eventually discovered by fans. Lots of people still have fond memories of watching Double Dragon on VHS, and love the thing. Robert Patrick is really the big reason to see this one, and Milano brings some infectious fun to her role. There's some good fight scenes and stunt work, some amazing pyro, and the sets are pretty cool too. And again, Patrick is really fun as the villain. So, in spite of all the movie's failings, I'm giving Double Dragon 2 paws up. That's a very generous score, but won't lie, dumb as it was still a fun watch. You take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.